Parents of Reddit, what was the worst thing you got caught doing by your children? Not my personal story, but I have a friend who, when she was about 10 or so, walked in on her parents going at it. Rightly horrified, she ran downstairs to the basement and promptly walked in on her older sister and some guy going at it too. She says that she didn't talk to any of them for a week. Poor kid. Not me, but a friend of mine. He self-medicated with alcohol and drank around his kids almost constantly. One occasion he was angry about something one of the kids did. His youngest daughter went to the fridge and handed him a beer and told him he needed to calm down. He hasn't had a drop since. I talk alone all the time. My children are under 2. Soon, they'll realize their mom likes to discuss with herself. Oh well. When my daughter was in elementary school, she needed a jump drive for something. I gave her one that I knew was okay. The day that she needed it, she tried it, and there was some kind of a problem with it, so I grabbed another one to give to her. You probably already guessed it. There was that folder on there from when I was tossing away an old backup hard drive. She must have opened it up. She did not tell me about it until she was about 19. All I could do was say whoops. My wife and I, during one of our air copulations, were doing it on the couch. I had like a 30-second orgasm that was loud and proud. The stairs to our house have a landing where you look around the wall and see the whole living room. After my unusually and exceedingly long orgasm, I hear my 6-year-old's voice emanating from the stairs asking, "Daddy, why are you laying on mommy?" Going back, quote, up. I unstubbed my toe and it hurt so much I fell over on mommy. Go to bed, and he did. I'm pretty sure he'll put it together when he's old enough. I'm not a parent, but I caught my dad having an affair on my stepmom with my mom. Luckily I didn't see anything horrific. Not a parent. I couldn't sleep one night. For some reason I was wandering around the apartment. I saw the balcony doors were open and my mom was sitting on the railing of the half balcony ledge with her legs dangling out, probably thinking about jumping. She could have easily just scooted forward a couple of inches and gone over the side. 7th floor. I started sobbing and begging her to come in. She did eventually, calling me an idiot, stupid, ruining everything. She's an alcoholic, so I saw a lot over the years before I moved out at 19, but that one stays with me. Edit, typo. I was changing my daughter when she was a toddler who was about 14 months old, and the little monkey was wriggling around trying to escape. She almost fell off the change table, and I said back, quote, sheet. There was a few seconds of silence which was broken by her little voice saying back, quote, sheet perfectly. Oh. I was sure that she'd start saying that all of the time because I laughed when she said it. She didn't say it again, though. Changing that kid's nappy was like trying to put clothes on a cat. Luckily toddlers don't have claws, and she wasn't a biter. Eating chocolate without sharing. My 5-year-old, who was supposed to be sleeping, decided to barge into our room while I was on top of my significant other. I was already yelling no, no, no while the door was opening, so he only got a glimpse while turning around to shut the door. I threw some clothes on and followed him out to tuck him back into bed. He asked me what I was doing in top of dad. So me, being my quick thinking self, told my son that I was cracking dad's back. Lol. Son says, "Oh, like Dr. Kevin, my chiropractor." I said exactly like that. Not actually bad, but my wife had wanted to rearrange our bedroom closet for a long time, but just couldn't find the time with our, at the time, 2-year-old son constantly underfoot. She was out of the house one afternoon, so I decided to surprise her by taking out all the clothes and putting them back the way she wanted. My son was watching and saw me drape her many skirts and dresses over my arms and shoulders so I could move them out efficiently. My wife came home, and when she asked him what we'd been up to, he casually said, "Papa was wearing your clothes." My wife shot me a weird glance and I gave her that "I'll explain later" hand gesture. That's part of the nonverbal communication every couple develops after many years together. I'm over a foot taller than her and close to 2.5 times her weight, so I'm sure the mental image that flashed in her head was very confusing. Edit, and by confusing, I mean traumatizing. When my son was about 7 or 8, me and the wife were jetting it on in the early hours of the morning. My wife said she locked our bedroom door, and to this day she would swear that she did. We were being very quiet, but he walked into our room so quietly we didn't hear him. All of a sudden I hear my wife say Jake. I turned my head and there he was just standing next to the bed with a very confused look on his face. Having a depression nap/sob in bed. I wasn't doing anything wrong, but I wish she hadn't SE at least, until she was old enough to understand. Not the parent, but the child in this story. We all moved in with my grandma as times were hard. My mom really hated grandma, to the point apparently she didn't even want to walk through the house to pee. We were all watching a movie in my mom's room, and I see a can of Lay's stacks like Pringles. Pop that sucker open, and tilted it down, to get me some chips, but got covered in my mom's piss instead. She was peeing in a Lay's can. Went straight to the shower and in Avenue, but WTF. Caught my dad wanking to an episode of Jerry Springer once. Not a parent story as my kids are still babies, but that was horrible. Dad never knew I saw either. Back in time people recorded TV shows on VHS tapes. My uncle brought us a documentary about wild animals in Africa. It was a Sunday night. All family gathered. Me 10 years old, my sister 5 my parents and my grandparents i.e. my uncle's parents were sitting on the couch to see it. Let's just say that what we saw was wild. Very wild. As soon as he realized that it was his pronoun tape, he desperately tried to shut it down, pressing all the buttons on the remote. Having failed, he stood up and pressed our old TV buttons, failing to change the channel and increasing the sound in process. So I was laughing. My sister wasn't understanding anything. My grandma was covering his eyes. Grandpa was paralyzed in shock. Mom and dad also trying to help my poor uncle. In the end, someone managed to eject the tape. It all happened in like 5 seconds, but I'm sure for my uncle it lasted a lot more than that. Edit. Thanks for the award, kind stranger. Not a parent, but a forever scarred child. I think I was like 10 when this happened. I had recently discovered the wonderful world of picking locks with bobby pins, and walked around the house checking for locked doors I could pick. I found a door that was locked, and it was my parents' bedroom door. I proceeded to pick it, and saw my dad's naked ass sticking up in the air, and that's about it before my mom yelped when she realized the door was open now. I quickly shut the door, and ran to my room 2 floors down. I stopped picking bedroom door locks after that. Edit. My name is not Jake. That would have been one hell of a coincidence though. This isn't a parent story, but when I was about 14 years old I used to wake up every early morning to go visit my grandparents who lived right next to me. It was about 7 AM and I went into their house. I didn't hear them talking, nor were they making food, so I was concerned. I opened their bedroom door, and I was scarred. Lol. Caught them having sex missionary on the floor. My grandpa didn't bat an eye, but I made eye contact with my grandma for half a second before I shut the door and ran back to my house next door. I laid in disbelief and felt as if I could never see them face to face again. Thankfully my grandpa and I talked normally later that day, so that was good. Lol. I had my husband's dung in my mouth when my daughter bursted into the room. It was devastating. She brings it up occasionally, but doesn't remember what was happening, but that something didn't seem right. She actually just brought it up last week. Not exactly bad, more awkward. My husband was checking my nether regions for ingrown hairs. I've got a bad back and poor eyesight, so yes, I need help with that. All of a sudden our 3-year-old is at our bedside, asking if she could have a glass of water. We decided to just act normal and not make a big deal about it. She never mentioned it to us or anyone, so I think we dodged a bullet. My kid got my wife and I doing one thing that we usually do when he goes sleep. He busted us for eating McNuggets and ice cream. 15 minutes later, that Uber Eats driver delivered it to us. He was furious, haha. When I was playing GTA 5 and he caught me kicking cats in game. It took me several hours to calm him down. He was perfectly fine with all the murder and thefts, but kicking cats was the line in the sand. My so's daughter caught her giving me a BJ. Worst part was that we didn't notice and she didn't say anything till the next morning. We are eating breakfast and she just blurts out, "Is Jim 3 strokes PP okay? I saw mommy kissing it an awful lot last night." There were 3 other kids in the room and 2 of them knew exactly what she was talking about. My son when he was about 3 was occupied watching Paw Patrol or something, so the wife and I snuck away for some 6, swore I'll lock the door. So anyways, impounding away, and feel the impending orgasm brewing. Door starts to rattle. I finish just as the door opens. Son with a huge grin shouts yay, clearly happy to have gotten the door open as my wife and I quickly cover ourselves up. Not a parent, but I did get caught by my mom having sex when I was 15. She walked in on my BF, and I doing it doggy style. She screamed and slammed the door. My BF was horrified. I waited like 15 minutes and went out to the living room where she was, and she was laughing on the phone with her friend telling them what she just saw. Got caught by my 6-year-old getting it on. My BF was on top. Luckily we heard some noise outside the door and pulled the blanket on us. He asked why my BF was on me and I told him I was really cold. When he was 7 he tried coming in when my BF was going down on me. We thought he went back downstairs, we would put a movie or show on for him and go upstairs to do stuff, but he didn't. I walk out of the room and he was there sitting at the top of the stairs and asked why was I panting so much. Folding laundry is just so much work. I'm not a parent, but when I was 15 I caught my parents snorting coke with their friend in my little brother's room. They told me it was powdered sugar. BC it was on a plate, they thought that was rational. I still can't believe their nerve. They've recovered since then, and our relationship is way better now. As an adult, I try to cut them some slack. Parenting is hard already, and when you're a struggling addict it is even more so. But as a teen I hated them, not only for the addiction, but also for insulting my intelligence like they did. Still something I think about, that I need to let go. Sneaking some Reddit whip. It's my kid's favorite thing and I will never forget the look of utter betrayal on her face when she caught me. When I was in 6th grade, I went to an alternative school after being expelled. I was introduced to drug use here. One day, I came home, and my apartment reeked of weed. I asked my mom why it smelled like pot in the house, and she swore it was just some smelly stuff. I'm 18 now. She admitted that it was actually weed. Not been caught doing anything sus by my kids as far as I know. But when I was a kid, probably 6 or 7, I opened the door to my parents' room to see dad plowing mum doggy style. They both immediately, in one graceful movement, separated and got back under the covers. I didn't really understand or care what I saw. I was just a kid with no compression, that I wasn't meant to see it, or that I should be horrified. I just had something that I needed to tell them. It wasn't until many years later that I clicked and realized what I saw.